welcome everybody to a soggy Spa-Francorchamps circuit here in Belgium, where we're about to make Intelligent Money British GT Championship history with the first ever live broadcast of a free practice session. The second free practice session of the weekend here at Spa is actually just getting underway now, with cars heading out onto the circuit. It is great to be back here in Belgium. We unfortunately had to skip this round a year ago. However, the weather has, unfortunately, as I'm sure a lot of you are already aware, not been great in this part of the world. And as you can see there, the rain is now falling fairly heavily. It's still warm. It's that humidity that's the issue. 87% humidity, and the rain, we believe, is set in for the rest of the day. It's going to make conditions pretty treacherous out there. You can see visibility is going to be at a real premium out on circuit. And in this free practice session, there is an awful lot to lose. You would think maybe not a huge amount to be gained, but the teams are also aware of the fact that tomorrow we could have a wet race, and so any wet running they get now in this session could prove beneficial as we move into the 2-hour race tomorrow afternoon. It's a busy day. They've already had one 60-minute free practice session in the dry conditions earlier on this morning, and they'll have another 60 minutes now in the wet. Qualifying is coming up around about 4 o'clock local time this afternoon, and then a warm-up and a 2-hour race tomorrow, all of it broadcast live, so you won't miss a thing here from this now all round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Cars, as you can see, out on the circuit. There'd be a Academy Motorsport Ford Mustang we're following, which was pretty handy actually in the GT4 category in free practice one. They were the third fastest of the GT4 cars. Fastest overall in GT4 was the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK Toyota GR Supra of Scott McKenna and John Ferguson. GT3, Barwell Motorsport, Leo Machinsky and Dennis Lynn, who set the lap time, getting to work on their wet setups. They did have a little bit of practice time, Swift used it at least yesterday afternoon, but that was again in sunny, dry conditions. Yesterday it was glorious here, actually, temperatures in the mid to high 20s, bright sunshine all day. What difference in less than 24 hours could make. There's the number 6 Mercedes, which is our first visitor to the escape road there, and that was up at turn number 8. And in the car at the moment is actually Jelmer Berman. So even Jelmer Berman, with his wealth of experience all around the world, but here in Spa especially, running into difficulties there, just got his braking wrong into that really tricky downhill braking zone, and ended up running wide onto the thankfully fairly fast tarmac runoff area. Spa, of course, these days an awful lot more forgiving than it once was. Back in the day, if you go off, there are acres of tarmac runoff area to catch you, but unlike some other more modern circuits, it still retained an awful lot of its charm and its sort of rustic feel. When you come here and visit the circuit, we've been lucky enough to do this weekend, you drive in and you just sort of see bits of the track sticking up above the tree line, and it really looks like the forest is sort of taking over the racetrack. It is a remarkable place. You can see there just sort of the greenery around. And in amongst it all, the roar of the Mercedes AMG. Now, this number 6 car had a decent time of it last time out at Donington Park. They finished second in our most recent race. Yet to win this year, though, Jelmer Berman and Ian Lockey. They arrived here, though, joint championship leaders with Johnny Adam and Andrew Howard. But the first bit of news to give you is that unfortunately there is no Johnny Adam this weekend. Andrew Howard is here. He's got Ross Gunn alongside him though. Johnny Adam, unfortunately, because of COVID-related protocols, is not able to be here, so he is self-isolating back in the UK. Can't race with us here at Spa, which means that Johnny is back in that really weird position where he is going to rejoin us later in the season, but now unfortunately his particular championship hopes have rather vanished. Also in trouble this morning, but Team ABBA Racing, and Bryn Lucas is down in the pit lane now with Sam Deering.
Yeah, I am indeed. You were saying at the start of this, Andy, this is sort of groundbreaking, the first time that a practice session was brought from Spa, and unfortunately Sam and Richard are now on the track. So Sam, talk us what's going through your car really, what the repair is, what the damage is.
Yeah, just come back to get the minute before we looked. We need to string it up and check. Unfortunately at the end of FP1, Jack started getting a little bit wet, and I was on a new tyre run, and I just made a mistake really. It's bound to happen at some point when you're racing. Just feel sorry for the team. I'm getting in, doing a bit of rushing up, and hopefully we'll be out for quality, which we look like we will be.
You say superficial, but there is a lot of components being changed over the front end, so Is it a case of replacing out and you go again later?
Yeah, exactly. We'll try and get out for the last 10-15 minutes of this session, try and get some wet running in. And we'll see how we get on. We know we've got a quick car, we had a quick car in practice one. Just a shame about all the conditions were changing. I just pushed too hard and made a mistake. One of those things, you know, we'll move on and hopefully I'll be running.
We'd like to see you out, like you say, the last 15 minutes or so, but we'll keep an eye on the repairs and catch up with you later on. Thanks,
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
Well, Sam Neary, the perpetually cheery Neary, usually, but as you can see, he's got plenty of reason to be a little bit grumpy at the moment because that team have had a whole series of issues in pre-practice sessions this season. This was the second look that we've had at the fairly sizable incident that Sam had coming out of Lake Con. Given the ferocity of that impact with the tyre wall, they are very, very fortunate to have gone away with relatively little damage, actually. As he said, cosmetic mainly. This is the car, remember, that had an off at Brands Hatch in pre-practice 2. They had a brake issue at Silverstone, went off in pre-practice 2. Then they had a brake disc explode last time out at Donington Park in, guess what, pre-practice 2. And now here at Spa, they're not even looking like they're going to get out on track during pre-practice 2. After an issue in the first practice session of the day, so we hope they can get the car fixed. They should go well here. They, remember, were our most recent winners when Richard and Sam Neary managed to pull off the impossible, quite frankly, starting 10th on the grid at Donington Park 2 weeks ago. They came from 10th to winning. Richard Neary went from 10th to 2nd in the very first corner of the race, taking advantage of a bit of an incident ahead of him, but also making some really good moves to cut through the pack. And as a result, they brought themselves right back into contention. Fastest at the moment, then, what it's worth in this the early stages of this pre-practice session is this car. Well, it was this car, that's Scott Barber, but Jan Berman, back on the circuit now, is going quicker by 1.4 seconds. This will be the trend in the opening 10-15 minutes or so of the session as the drivers out on track just start to get to grips with the conditions out there. I noticed an awful lot of the pro drivers have headed out on track to do these exploratory laps before having to go to the Alps, maybe in the hope that the rain is going to desist and maybe the track will dry. But the rain has got a little lighter, it's quite a persistent sort of heavier than a drizzle, but not quite pouring it down the rain. If you see what I mean, it's now a bit closer to drizzly weather. And hopefully that leaves these cars, as they circle down the track, by clearing the standing water. Baldwin looks like he's on an improvement here then. Not quite as quick as Berman, but personal best in the middle sector. And the car that started on the front row last time at Donington Park, its mechanical issues late in the race, goes through and does set a new personal best lap time, and almost does match Berman actually with a purple final sector there for Baldwin. Faster than anybody else has gone so far in the session in that sector. He's just 77 1,000ths of a second now away from the top of the time. Two cars together here running in GT4. Matt Cowley at the wheel of the Ford Mustang. He's trying to find a way past the number 4 McLaren, which is being driven by Katie Milner. And Katie Milner in that number 4 car, well, none of the Rocket RJM McLarens really had a good time of it at Donington, nor though it must be said to Matt Cowley as they got tangled up with one of the McLarens. And with the Toyota as well, about 30 minutes into the race, all 3 of them out on the spot, so they'll, both of these cars be looking for just a solid result really, how to put this race to start. And there you can see the difficulty with the spray. You might wonder why the Academy car Matt Cowley is insisting on getting quite so close to Katie Milner. 2 reasons. One, he clearly feels that he's quicker and wants to get through, but also this is quite a good simulation for potentially the start of the race tomorrow. If we have a wet race, you're going to have to run in the spray. You may as well get used to it, really. And he does now pull out of the spray into the braking zone so that it doesn't go careering into the back of the McLaren with pits. And now Matt Cowley can carry on onto another lap. Matt, at the moment, is the second fastest GT4 car. And Scott McKenna, once again, who is on his toes in the Toyota, is fastest in the session in the GT4 category. Let's ride on board then with Cowley as they head into the right-hander at La Source. Then carefully on the throttle, this Ford Mustang can be a bit leery under acceleration, accelerates away out of La Source, down past the old pits where there's a bit of resurfacing work being done in the paddock after the recent flooding, and then hold your breath and hope for the best. Into Eau Rouge, then up the hill through Radion. Brilliant shot there as the car splashes its way through the most iconic sequence of corners, I think, in World Motorsport. Bit sideways over the curbs, but then gets on the power. And here you can actually sort of relax, at least in the drive, because you're on the Kemmel Straight, you're climbing slowly uphill, I say slowly, you're going very quickly, but it's quite a gradual sort of climb, and then hit your braking point into Lake Old, which you did pretty nicely by the looks of it. Yeah, the Ram Racing Mercedes in Gavin Berman get out and hand over to Ian Loggy then. As I said, these two have been very consistent this year. Missed out on the podium at Brands Hatch at the season opening. They finished 4th place at Brands Hatch, 3rd at Silverstone, 2nd at Donington. So by all rights, they should win tomorrow to keep that trend going. But it has to be an awful lot easier said than done. Joint championship leaders, as I mentioned, with Andrew Howard and Johnny Adam. Just to finish that point I was making about Johnny earlier on, he will, we hope, return for the next round of the championship, but at Snetterton in his time. A bit of a gap now actually before our next round of the championship, but Andrew Howard, provided he finishes and scores points this weekend, will then have more points than his own co-driver does. So Johnny Adam, if Andrew Howard does score points this weekend, Johnny Adam will not then be able to win the championship this year. He'll still come back and help Andrew Howard. The driver that scores the points rather than the cars, if you see what I mean. Johnny has been in that situation before. Phil Keane there on board the WPI Motorsport Lamborghini. Now, if ever there was a team that needed a good result, it was this one. They won the season opener at Brands Hatch, remember. Phil Keane and Mike Ligo after a really, really strong performance. But then Silverstone, they were strangely off the pace all weekend long. Then they went to Donington Park, where they stuck it again near the front of the grid. Mike Ligo was tipped into a spin by Nick Jones in the Team Park Racing Porsche at Redgate Corner. The Lamborghini went around, would have got away with it if it hadn't been for Dennis Lind, who, not Dennis Lind, for Leo Chipsky, partner shares with Dennis Lind, who clattered into the side of Ligo, and unfortunately put both of the Lamborghinis, run by different outfits, of course, WPI Motorsport from this car, Barwell running the 63, but they were both out on the spot, and it meant that the early championship favourites in Lake, Keane and Igo, found themselves down in 6th place in the championship. They're only 24 points off the top though, with 37.5 points available for winning this weekend. So they can absolutely still get back into this. They just need to have a clean weekend. And Bill, I think, is acutely aware of that fact. Just needs to get through this weekend without anything else going wrong. But with these conditions and this the weather in this circuit is going to be a little bit tricky to stay out of that trouble. So it's Phil Keane on board the car then, as we saw from that onboard shot. He's coming up through the final corner time, which he gets to say it's like Ligo, but that is most definitely Phil Keane. He knows this place rather well. He's had success here in the past. He's gone quicker than anybody in that middle sector, so this might be a new fastest lap time of the session. Is it? He comes across the start-finish line now, passed by commentary position, and yes, he goes quickest by about a tenth, just under a tenth and a half over Scott Bolton's second. Dennis Lind is third. This car is fourth quickest with the time set by Yelmer Berman. Ian Loggy is on his outlap now from the pit lane. So too Sandy Mitchell, who is 5th place. So Yelmer Berman then is out of the car, watching on as Ian Loggy works his way through the murk and the mist around Spa-Francorchamps, and Yelmer is down there in the pit lane with Bryn.
Yes, indeed he is. As you look at the car on screen, it looks quite nice out there. Yelmer, you're telling me that it's very greasy, it's not ideal, a bit of aquaplaning as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, generally in the corners it's pretty good, I guess, because there's not so much rubber down. The grip is Spydermatic, so everywhere you go, if you go on the ideal line, on the wet line, grip level is actually pretty decent. But you know, there are some rivers here and there, especially when you enter Lacombe. It looks like it's all good on the entry, and then in the middle of the corner you got a big snap. So it's you know, those are the tricky parts, and especially the straights, because first couple of laps I didn't manage to go flat on the straight because it was just aquaplaning. So it takes just a matter of time. You know, when the cars ride around, they clean a bit of water, and then it will get better.
So Ian's out in the car now. Is Ian going to stay in the car for the rest of this session?
Oh, I'm not sure yet. He's going to do some laps, see how it goes, and then maybe we're going to try something right at the end, and I'll jump back in. Depends on how things go, you know, with red flags and stuff like that. So see what happens.
The only thing I think is sure is the weather will stay like this for the night.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have that much wet running yet in British GP this year, so I don't mind it, to be honest. It's a nice track, and even in the wet and the dry, it's always a pleasure to drive here. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, it's been a unseasonably summery season so far for British GT over in the UK. Typically, as soon as we come for our annual holiday to Belgium, the Scotland weather system has come in to throw a bit of a spanner in the works, but he makes a valid point, does Jan, that there haven't been that many, well, there haven't been any fully wet practice, qualifying or race sessions so far this year, so the teams are a little on the back foot here, you'd imagine, as they try to find the right setup. A lot of them, though, will have experience of running at this track, be it in this championship or GT World Challenge, for example, so they'll, I'm sure, be able to figure something out. Ian Moggy is coming through now finally to complete this out lap. It's going to be quite a long lap, that. Not such a long lap for Dennis Lynn, who has now gone to the top in the 63 Lamborghini. Deposes Phil Keane from the top spot by exactly 2/10 of a second. Dennis Lynn and Liam Jitsky again yet to win this year. They had a third and a second, then that one finish at Donington 2 weeks ago. Maybe for their first victory tomorrow. Out into the frame once again goes McLaren there. That was Proctor's, Lewis and Stuart Proctor, father and son. And one of two father and son pairings racing in the championship, of course. But here he's becoming the first ever father-son combo to win around the championship at Donington 2 weeks ago. Scott Mulvern has just had a slightly odd lap in the Porsche, the Team 5 Racing Porsche. He was faster than anyone else had got in both sectors 1 and 2. Looked as though he was going to jump to the top of the times and then dived for the pit lane. So I don't know if there's an issue there for the Team Parker car. As we ride on board now with one of the cars staring at the footwell. This is Stuart Proctor then. They're heading up the Kegel straight on the brakes now into Lake On. And you've got to be really gentle there with the throttle and brake application. Very easy to snatch the brakes into the corners and spin up the rear wheels coming out. These GT3 cars, of course, have quite fancy ABS and traction control systems, but they still require a bit of effort from the driver to not make the mistake and not be a bit too heavy with the right foot. Which, as you can see there, from on board, Stuart operates both the accelerator and the brake, electrical braking there. It may be different, of course, for Lewis, his son, who is a pro driver. He perhaps may prefer the left foot braking technique, which, especially in the wet, can give you a bit more stability, a bit more control of the car and the braking. But Stuart Proctor certainly using his right foot there in both pedals. Sandy Mitchell jumps up to 4th, incidentally, in GT3, whilst Darren Turner,